Hi, I'm Carrie McMahan, and 8 years ago, I gave birth to an amazing little boy. And everything about pregnancy and delivery, everything was totally normal. He came out very, very healthy. He was a happy, happy little boy. Like a typical newborn, had struggled sleeping and eating, but once we got the hang of that stuff, he was a really, really good, cute, fun baby. Very shortly after delivery, I started to feel very angry, and I couldn't kind of figure out why I was feeling angry all the time. I had gone to my postpartum appointments, and I had gone through the surveys of postpartum depression, and I was checking the right boxes, and my doctors were like, okay, we're not concerned, but I couldn't shake this feeling of just being very angry. And most of my anger was towards God and towards my husband, but most of all towards God, because I had always dreamed of being a wife and a mom when I grew up, and those things felt very hard. And I felt like I was failing miserably at both of those things. And I was very angry with God as far as why he would give me this dream and this desire and then allow me to feel so much failure in it. I felt very alone and very abandoned by God. I didn't feel as though these feelings were okay. I grew up in a Christian home. I had always believed in God. I was the wife of a pastor. I didn't feel like I was allowed to question what God was doing in my life. And I didn't feel like I was allowed to be angry. I certainly didn't feel like I was allowed to talk about it with anybody. And so months went on, and I continued feeling like I was failing, like I was angry. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I felt very alone. And as time continued, thoughts started to enter into my head of just, my family would be better off without me. If I left, if I was not a part of this picture, yes, they would hurt at first, but they would heal, and they would be allowed to find a wife and a mom who was so much better than me. And all of this kind of came to a moment. Billy and I had gotten into an argument, and I just started yelling at him all of these things that I had been thinking and feeling. And it was then that we both realized how serious these thoughts and these feelings were for me, and that they weren't just gonna go away. And so at that moment, I sought counseling, and I sought support from outside of just the two of us and of our family. And through the counseling and through the support of others, I realized that I wasn't alone in this, and that it was fairly common for women to experience postpartum depression and to feel inadequate in a lot of these ways. And so I started to work through that, but through all of that, I realized I needed to rebuild my trust and my relationship with God. I had felt so hurt and abandoned by him that I didn't have trust in him anymore. And I didn't feel as though he wanted what's best for me. So I had to work really hard to rebuild a lot of that relationship and that trust. And I spent 2 years, through counseling and with Billy and with other family members, just really trying to rebuild the foundation of my faith in God. And about 2 years after that, Billy and I had a plan, a perfect plan for our third little baby, and everything was working according to plan. At about our 12-week appointment, I had already gone in and heard baby's heartbeat, and everything was good at 8 weeks. And at about 12 weeks, we went into a doctor's appointment, and my doctor had told me that I had miscarried. And at that moment, I just felt so much devastation and so much loss. And yet, almost instantaneously, I just knew that God was holding me, and he was wrapping his arms around me, and that he was telling me that I was gonna be okay. And through the pain and the hurt and the grief of that experience and faith that I had to rebuild from my postpartum depression, I came out of that experience a lot stronger in God, and a lot more grounded in that through so much hardship and so much pain, God loved me and he cared for me, and that he was taking care of me and I was going to be okay.